Virtual summits are the most powerful online marketing tool available to grow your list, launch your platform, make more money, and create an impact in the world, even if you're just getting started. If you are ready to take your summit to the next level, then tune into the Virtual Summit Podcast with Dr. Mark T. Wade.
Hi, I'm Dr. Mark T. Wade, founder of Virtual Summit Software and creator of the One Day Summit Formula. And I'm on a mission to help you, the summit host, get your summit out to the world in a powerful and impactful way. So let's get started. Hey, Summit host, Dr. Mark T. Wade here, founder of Virtual Summit Software, and I am so excited for today's episode on the Virtual Summit Podcast. I've got Mark Stern, who's joining us today on the episode. Thanks so much for taking the time out of your schedule to be with us, Mark.
Mark, thank you. I'm thrilled to be here. Really do appreciate you pulling me on to the show.
It's going to be an amazing episode. Our summit hosts are in for such a treat, Mark, and I can't wait to jump into the material. It's also kind of a little funny. It's like I'm talking to myself here when I'm saying Mark, back to Mark, back to Mark, but they're getting two for the price of one right now, and it's going to be really great. Now, you summit hosts that are listening in today, this is going to be a pretty amazing episode. We're going to be talking about some information we have not covered yet on the podcast, and you're going to be in for some gems that are going to change the way you think about your summit. I'm not going to spoil the surprise. You're going to have to listen in to hear it. Now, before we jump into that, Mark, I want you to just take a few moments to introduce yourself to our summit hosts who are listening.
Yeah, happy to. Well, I'm Mark Stern. I live in Austin, Texas, and the story I always tell people is I was the guy, I grew up in Alabama. I was the guy who was raised that there's a pathway to happiness, and not only did I follow it, I think I was the king of the pathway to happiness. And that's you graduate high school, you go to college, graduate, you get the dream job, then you go back to grad school, and then you graduate and have the dream job and the family and the white picket fence. And that's the pathway to happiness. And I always knew from a young age that I had that inner entrepreneur, that itch that I've always wanted to scratch. But everyone I knew around me was corporate like I was. And it wasn't until, and we were talking about this earlier, it wasn't until, 2010, I read Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Work Week. And I remember reading the book going, this is awesome. I loved the brainstorming that happened as a result of it, but I didn't know anyone that were these digital nomads. They were these mythical creatures to me. And you flash forward where I had just entered business school, 2012, I graduated at the end of this pathway to happiness, embarking on the rest of my life. And I found myself with $165,000 in student loans. I had just signed a 2-year job commitment with the world's largest consulting firm, Deloitte Consulting. And with that, I signed away the rights of anything I produced is owned by the firm. So those dreams of becoming an entrepreneur, I couldn't even have a list or an audience. I couldn't have anything. And it took me until literally end of 2017 at this crossroads of, do I want to pursue a path weeks away from being a junior partner in the firm, which I knew what the next 15 years of my life looked like? Do I want to do that? Or do I want to make the leap, say this is the time to leave now because I never will, and try out this entrepreneurship thing? And the first thing I did when I finally decided I needed to take the leap, I didn't know what I was going to do or what my business looked like. But what I did know was that I knew I wanted to do a virtual summit to get loud fast. So yeah, that started the journey.
And that is definitely one of those kind of stories that is going to stand out there. And we're going to remember that. Because all that pathway that you took there through the financial world, it's going to play a big role in the information we're going to share here, right?
Absolutely.
Awesome. So, let's go ahead and kind of jump into this a little bit. So for everybody listening out there, we've got Mark with High Ticket Online. He's actually going to be helping as a summit coach right now, entrepreneurs kind of take that next level, get to that next level, but he's doing it from kind of a different perspective than many of us have seen, and something that I think is going to be extremely impactful. So I want to jump into that. I want to get started with, I'm going to pose the question as Mark, what are you seeing out there as far as how summits are being run? What's your perspective that's different than everything else that's out there as far as the summit's concerned?
Yeah, so it's a great question, and there's so much merit and so much power to the summit model that we're all used to, where you have about 25 to 30 plus speakers that are released over a limited period of time on a defined series of days, the traditional model that a lot of us know. I did a very traditional summit as my first summit. I had 41 speakers. And through that, the challenge and the feedback that I received from my speakers, from my own experience, and then working with other students who were putting on summits were, it's a ton of work for the host. For speakers were starting to feel that like they were just a number amongst the sea of speakers, so they didn't feel like it was elevating status. And then audience, the challenge with audience when you have 30-something interviews that you put on them, especially when you sell a digital access pass, is it could quickly translate to content overwhelm. And one of the biggest pain points that I see for participants is summit hosts tend to just go asking a lot of speakers to speak on their event, and then they throw it out to participants and they're just overwhelmed by all this content. So part of the challenge is like, how do you win across these three audiences? How do you make it easier for the host? How do you make it, how do you elevate the status of your speakers? And how do you get your participants to consume the information to be able to quickly ascend them up? So it's just that hodgepodge of really thinking through the strategy of why you're doing a summit in the first place is kind of where my lens comes to life in terms of how I teach the model.
Virtual Summit's software makes hosting a summit easier than ever. The only software in the world designed specifically for hosting a summit lets you set up a summit in a matter of hours with no tech skill or team needed. You can try out the Virtual Summit's software free at virtualsummits.com. But hurry, this is a limited offer.
Well, I really like this perspective, and I like how you've laid this out so easily for me with 3 different categories that we can jump into. Let's dive in first into the speaker category. What's one of the strategies that you use to elevate the speakers when you're participate or when you're setting up one of your summits?
I think it's so critical, and this is pretty typical for people who do summits really well. They do a good job at this, but you want to make it as easy as possible for them to engage and really see the value in it. So you don't want to whenever I engage with speakers, I already know what I'm trying to accomplish with the virtual summit I'm putting on. So by the time I engage them in conversations, they know I'm incredibly clear and this train is moving, whether they're part of it or not. But I really explain to them why I want them to be a part of it. My core strategy is when I do a virtual summit, I tend to call them virtual events because I only usually activate 8 to 12 influencers. What's a benefit of doing 8 to 12 influencers is I can start to repurpose the content and really polish the content before the event's even started because it's only 8 to 12. Whereas when I had the Clickpreneur Summit at 41, it's so overwhelming as the host. So things that I do to answer your question, I just ask the question, how can I get them to authentically want to promote and get excited about the event? So when they authentically promote it to their audience is already getting excited about it. And I'm already going from being someone that is not known to the world to being an expert in the world that is being vouched for by their influencer. So I can show you examples of what I do. But one of the things I do is so many people who do summits tend to do as their upsell a digital access pass. And I think digital access passes are amazing. You really want to structure it well so people see the pathway through success to want to ascend to the next level of your value ladder. If you give them too much content, it's going to be content overwhelm. They're going to look at you and go, why would I ever buy something else from you if I can't get through the content you've given me in the first place? That's the challenge that a lot of people face. So with 8 to 12, I get to do things like, I usually give away the digital access, but I sell action. And I think there's something premium about mixing the physical realm with the digital realm. So if you were to buy my all access pass, I'm going to send you something in the mail. And the reason for that is it's an easy way to start creating a differentiated degree of value. And it really does not cost that much more money. It's just knowing the systems to make it happen. But one of the things I did with my speakers was, this was High Ticket Online. This is a virtual event. For those who are listening, I'm holding up a box, but I actually featured all of my influencers on the box. So when I published this picture before the summit even took place, because it was just 12 people to produce this ahead of time, it's so much easier when you have a smaller number. They went crazy. They started going loud to their audiences because with their face on a box, it elevated status. The other thing that I did was, there's a lot of things in here that constantly elevated their status. I put them all on trading cards that broke down for High Ticket Online. The goal of that was to break down your high ticket program. So what I'm holding in my hands is part of what I wanted, and was rather than having cheat sheets, I had trading cards made that were just designed after the actual interview session. So all these were sourced. And when I put these out in the marketplace, again, the speakers went crazy because they're like, I'm on a trading card. And it just provides a high degree of value and shortcuts to their key insights on. For that program, it was all about high ticket sales. So it's thinking about strategies that are not necessarily the things that cost a lot of money. It's just about being creative and finding ways to get them to chirp more about it. Those are the strategies that I was looking. There's a book in there. There's a workbook in there. It highlights the speakers. There's assets that I created around the event using After Effects and some motion graphics that really got them excited. So when they see their name on this, it's just easy ways to win with them. The one other thing I will mention is the other thing I do with my speakers is I give them 100% affiliate commission for the box sale. And the reason I give them, and I only do that with my speakers, and it's just for the box sale. That box was just $97 plus shipping and handling. I like it to be under $100 because it's accessible. There's a lot of value in it, lots of perceived value in it too. But when I give my speakers 100% commission, they start to think about how they can integrate this with their own products. Because, like, for instance, I had a speaker that has a challenge. She sells it for $97. It's a 21-day challenge. I told her, just sell the box. You're getting the 97 anyways. So now they get the challenge and the box together. And the box is saying on behalf of the speakers, this is an influencer on high ticket, and I'm a third party compared to them. So it just further elevates their status. So these are the tactics that I look at, saying, how can you incorporate more things that just get them excited? And it doesn't take much. It just takes just a degree of creativity.
You nailed it right there. The creativity that's so outside the box. And one of the things that I feel and that I see on a regular basis that's a challenge that we have to overcome is attention span, right? It's a crowded marketplace out there. How do you stand out? These type of strategies are incredible. So I've got several questions I want to dive into around this topic. I think this box is incredible. So first off, can you break down the offer? What was the Summit offer? Because you mentioned you didn't sell the All Access Pass. Was there an All Access Pass? Walk us through that process. They opted in, and then they got the information, and then.
So for me, my biggest thing is that so many people, like when I did Clickpreneur Summit, it was 41 hours of interview. Well, it was like 50 hours worth of stuff that was in the All Access Pass. It was a ton of stuff. And the challenge with it is it was overwhelming for me to even manage that beyond the event. But more importantly, like if you didn't buy the All Access Pass, I locked it in a vault and said you had to have the All Access Pass to watch over 50 hours worth of content that I'd rather just put out in the public. If people see me and like the interviews, it's going to increase my know, like, and trust factor and pull them closer to me. But if I lock them in a vault, I can't do that. So that's where, like, I try and put less emphasis to just deliver value with the interviews. And so to break down the box offer, what's in the box is there's what I call there's entrepreneur elements. This is one of my publications that the core message of it is, in order to win the game of entrepreneurship, you got to get back to the basics. So it's another one of my core products that I featured, but I make it a limited edition for that virtual event. So this one was the limited edition version of Entrepreneur Elements for High Ticket Online. And in addition to that, all the speaker notes from the speaker sessions I put in that book. That's what makes it a limited edition. So you get a nice looking color bound book that has an incredible flip factor. It feels high. It feels like it's super premium, that has all the speakers featured in it, in addition to seeding one of my other core products. The other thing I did was a workbook. The workbook was just a simple 50-page workbook that allowed you to take notes on each of the speaker sessions. So it was really easy for you to be able to have a place to collect your notes from the insights that you collected. I did the cards. So these are like kind of just the trading cards on each of the speakers that breaks down their high ticket program blueprint on the back, because that's what we did in the interview. And then I had swag. So the hat I'm wearing, and then a pair of aviators, just because I wear hats and sunglasses all the time. So I had that in the box. So there's 5 items. What I will say is, if you do put a box together, less is more in this game. 5 is a good number. I've worked with clients that we put upwards 10 bonuses in there, and it's just too much. So I think less is more wins in the game. 5 is a good number. It's got a great unboxing factor, because now I'm seeing all these unboxing videos, which then further sell your product beyond the event as well. So, and then there's a bunch of digital stuff I tag on it, like the digital recordings organized that they also get access to. The subscriptions and the MP3s and the typical, but the box is what I'm really pushing people to get.
That's such an incredible bonus. I mean, that's so with the offer, they opt in for the summit. And then, like, traditionally, they would have to buy the All Access Pass to keep the recordings. So on your summit, you're telling them right away, hey, you opt in for this, you get to keep this. And so essentially on your sales page is this the event box, right? And that's what you're selling on the sales page, I mean, right?
So you're right. It's traditional. You opt in to get your free ticket. When the event is live, it's still the same thing that X number of videos are dropped each day. At the end of each day, they're going to expire. You still create the urgency as if you're selling the all access pass, but rather than selling the pass, you sell the box and get the recordings for free. I also tend to use a platform called OneStream.live because I don't want to give people an excuse not to watch the recordings, because watching the recordings, whether you watched it on the site or within my Facebook group, I can pixel you in either way. I can get your information either way and retarget you either way. So that's kind of where like the video recordings for me, I throw into Facebook as well through OneStream.live on designated times. So some people watch it on Facebook and then they're able to engage, which I like that element of it. Some people watch it within the online portal where the videos are housed. There's 2 different places. And so that's where I say like, what happens with Facebook is videos tend to get lost very quickly down a feed. So if someone's able to dig it up and find it, they can watch it. But that's the difference between a Facebook versus YouTube. YouTube is real estate. Facebook is live stuff goes away. So that's where like if those videos get caught out there, they're out there. So opt in, upsell to the box, and usually an OTO to what is the core call to action that I'm trying to push people to as to why I'm doing the summit in the first place. So with that is selling people on a program that's called High Ticket Decoded, where I can work with them a lot more intimately on a higher ticket price. And it was also a beta launch. So I was able to launch a new program. And that whole OTO, the call to action that I knew I was going to do, was designed by how I selected the speakers and conducted the interviews. So I was able to leverage what I was already doing to work for me for the OTO as well.
That's a clutch right there. I love that. Like, and with this box, so I like this, the 5 bonuses. I agree with that completely. How are you, like, can you actually, just for those of us like myself who are curious, where did you get the box? How did you kind of get it all together? Like, is there any kind of resources that you know for that?
Yeah. I mean, there's so many places you can go. I'll tell you, I use a company called Packlane. If you just Google custom boxes, you'll find plenty of different companies out there that will allow you to customize your box. You know, I have a team in-house that does all the graphic design. So it became really easy. I mean, the same thing. A lot of it is like finding the vendors to create the stuff, like a book or a notebook or a workbook. I mean, all this stuff is pretty easy out there. It's just the hardest part is just the creativity to say what's going to work best and just pursuing that route. So I mean, I think, so my go-to vendor for printing is a company called DocuCopies. I love me some DocuCopies. They are just phenomenal. I have nothing but good things to say about them. And then, I mean, there's just so many fulfillment agencies out there, so you could do it yourself. I see a lot of entrepreneurs who get started doing it themselves. But there's a lot of companies out there, like the ShipZooms of the world, that will do the fulfillment for you. So.
That's amazing. Summit gems right there for everybody listening in on that. It's time to up the game. Think creatively. Now with this, for when you transitioned into, for example, like the evergreen version of your virtual event, how did this box play into it? Is that still the offer? Did it switch to digital? Like, talk us through the evergreen aspect.
I was going to say, I kind of want to talk to you a little bit more about the evergreen aspect of it too, because I think you know something about that. So for me, like, again, what's really nice about having only 8 to 12 people is being the clutch of who you interview. There's a lot of ways that you can repurpose it. What I find, and Mark, keep me honest here for your own experiences, so I'm just going to talk about my own experiences. Selling the Summit All Access Pass after the event can sometimes be a challenge. Like Clickpreneur, I do sell them. I don't sell a lot of them, but I still do sell them. And so the question that I'm trying to answer is, like, how do I still create a platform to get people to still want to buy it, and it still feels fresh and it still feels new and not tied to an event that may have happened in 2018. So when you have something like what we're doing with High Ticket Online, and this is about to go live, is we're taking it was only 12 interviews. It's turning into a 12-day drip sequence. So each day you'll get access to a new interview. You'll get an email in your inbox. You'll have 24 hours to watch that interview. And then you're constantly going to be hit with the upsell of getting the black box. And then from there, the upsell from that, again, is High Ticket Decoded. So same thing, just laying it out, but rather than it being over a short period of time, I get to be in your inbox every day for 12 days. And then I could still do the last one is if you want to do a webinar and do your pitch at the very end, you can do that as well.
Be sure to check out the speaker management tool inside your Virtual Summit software, which lets you quickly and easily recruit and manage your speakers on your virtual summit, literally eliminating hundreds of hours of work. Get more information at virtualsummits.com.
I like that. I actually was just thinking I need to, I typically, when I do multi-day summits, it's anywhere between that 3 to 5 day mark for me, but I've been wanting to experiment with a longer summit, out like that. Also because it extends during the live version of it, it extends the ability to also generate the list. You have more time for promotion, more time for lead gen. So I like that. Now going with the commission aspect that you were doing with your affiliates here, or with your speakers, have you done anything with that to like prolong it, to get them to kind of re-promote it? And if so, are they still getting the same kind of commission? And actually, probably even more importantly, what I'd like to know about is, if you're giving the speakers 100% commission, what's your monetization strategy, which we're talking about earlier as being an important aspect?
You're totally right. So part of it is I want to keep them excited. So one of my speakers is a high ticket coach. She really targets women. She's already said now high ticket online and the materials for that are a requirement for all of her students. That's what I want to see from my speakers, is that they are so excited about the content. I have an agency owner. She wants to get more into teaching people how to do high ticket. She goes, well, I already have a product. It's high ticket online. So I've created a product leveraging the Summit platform that now the speakers are taking ownership of it. And it indirectly constantly is elevating their status as a result of it. So seeing my speakers do that, that's what I want to see more of. They're still publishing online. If you want to get this box, reach out to me. And it's to their benefit to do that. So we all win. So from a monetization standpoint, the reason I look at this and say, I'm giving them 100% commission on the box. The box is $97. It's super low ticket, super accessible, ridiculously high value. And they don't get the shipping and handling, they don't get the bump, they don't get the upsells. But what happens is, let's just say my core business has a do-it-yourself, a done with you and a done for you aspect to it. A done for you for me easily starts at $25,000. It just depends on what you're doing. This is what I do with my clients. Just because the nature of what we create is something that I want to be of high value for your audience. And if you are an influencer that sells 1,000 boxes, or let's do the math. What is it? 100 boxes. I give you $100 commission. What is that? 100 times 100, is that 10,000? $10,000. If I sell one high ticket client of those 1,000 leads or 100 leads that come in at $25K, I've already made my money. If it's a coaching program or a do-it-yourself, I'm already really making my money off of that. So the rule in marketing is people who pull out their wallet to spend something small, they're 10 times more likely, 100 times more likely to spend more money with you. So kind of what I look at is, if we want to play the short game, then you're just looking at the all access pass sales being the core crutch of like how you generate revenue. I look at the Summit model is the front end of a funnel. It's like your opt-in. It's like you want to have like the self-liquidating offer that helps you break even. And it's not about the front end, it's all about the back end. So giving 100% commission is a no-brainer. I will happily trade $100 to you if the result could be $2,000, $5,000, $10,000, $25,000 for me. That's it.
It's so true. We use summits as the beginning of our customer journey, the beginning of the funnel, and that's exactly what they are. They solve a problem, build a relationship, and you're really nailing it right here. I'm loving this information. I'd love to talk a little bit in the direction of what we were briefly chatting about before we hit record, of how you look at the summit from design the experience and then go into the rest of the aspects. So can you kind of just walk us through your thought process of how you how you design the experience, what you're thinking about when you're preparing that?
Totally. It's so tough to watch that so many people are so attracted to the summit model, and it's such a big time commitment. If you're going to do this, like, you're going to invest time, you're going to invest resources. Thank God for your software, because that really does help expedite the process. But for so many people, there's still a lot of the loose pieces that can really start to add up financially as you put on the experience. So many people are doing it because they're like, I can get a lot of leads, and they don't know what their call to action is. They don't know why they're doing it in the first place. Sometimes people I've seen activate summits and activate an audience in a space that they didn't even know why they wanted to serve it. So this is why I say, if you're going to do a summit, start with the call to action. Where do you want to send people? Because you got to know where you want to send people to build the experience to just naturally lead them to want to have that call to action. Then I design the experience. And this is kind of why I like the model of just 8 to 12 influencers, because I can say, there's a lot of different models I look at in terms of what that experience can look like. But if I know what my call to action is, and especially if it doesn't exist and I need to build it, then I can design the experience that will help make it easier for me to develop that call to action or to ascend people to want to take that call to action. And then I source speakers. So using High Ticket Online as an example, I knew that my core audience for this event, they struggled with mindset issues. They knew that they didn't think they were worthy of a high ticket offer, or no one would buy it from them. And they just didn't have the mechanics of how to even formulate and put one together. So when I was planning that out, I knew that I wanted to have a call to action that was going to be like a higher ticket, higher price point course to teach people to quickly create their high ticket offers. But I knew that I needed to get into not only mindset, but also high ticket design. And what I wanted to do was also find experts that represented all different aspects of high ticket, because too many influencers who teach high ticket try and put this perspective that one size fits all. But if you're someone who does high ticket for women, or in the personal space, or in the business professional space, or for Fortune 500 companies, it's just, or for personal training, it's just it's a different model that works based on your business structure. So that's why when I designed the experience, I knew I wanted to go deep on what are limiting beliefs people have, how do you crush them, and then what makes your program unique, and then how do you go about designing all the way to attracting and closing leads to onboarding those. And by having those insights across 12 different business models to build that high ticket decoded, it was so much easier because I had 12 different data points of models that I can extract from to kind of tell the story to make it easier for you. So that's where I then went and found the speakers that represented the different models that I was looking for to help me craft that call to action.
I love that.
Does that make sense?
Yo,
Did I lose you?
No, you got me right there.
It's super intentional.
I'm over here taking notes. I'm trying to keep up with all the information. No, that's great. Mark, you are crushing this. This is so much great information. Now going with the aspect of the speaker. So you've built the experience, you've set the call to action, you've built the experience, you decided where you're going to take it, how you're going to do it. Now, when you go to reach out to the speakers, because we've talked about how you want to elevate the speakers, what's something that you're doing when you're reaching out to them to help set yourself and your virtual event, your virtual summit apart from the other contacts that they're receiving? As we've discussed, they're probably getting a lot of those. So how do you set yourself apart with that?
Yeah. For me, it's this is a great question. And I'll tell you just my numbers. Clickpreneur Summit had 41 influencers. I asked 43 influencers to close 41. For High Ticket Online, I asked 9 influencers to close 11 when people started getting wind of what I was doing. And I'm telling you guys, Clickpreneur was done 3 months after I left my corporate job with absolutely no presence in this game. So part of what differentiated me, and I've seen the same results or very similar results for my clients, is that you need to be very clear as to what you're doing and why you're doing it. And then you need to make it really easy for them to make it not feel like it's a big deal to be part of it. But I always have things, this is where I'd say, know your foundation, know your why and your who and what their pain points are. Have your branding done. When you have your branding done, it's like naming your baby. When you see the branding, it's real. And then know your milestones. And then also know a little bit about your speakers. And I like to start to engage with them where they play. So if you're big on Instagram or if you're big on Facebook, go to where they play, know where they play. And then when you do the reach out, I always give them a one pager that is well branded all the way down to the milestones and the dates and what I'm trying to achieve, as well as what my ask is for them and what's in it for them. And I just ask them to get on a call. The thing that's important is the goal of that action is just to get them on the call. There's never a guarantee that you'll get to speak on my event, and I never guarantee that you have a place on my event, because you as a host have a responsibility to your audience. And so that's where it's kind of that interaction is this train is moving and you want to elevate them. But if it's not the right fit, this is where it's I don't care if you have 100,000 leads or a list of 100,000, if you're not the right message for the framework that's developed, it's not going to serve the people I'm trying to serve in the way that I'm trying to serve it. So that's where it's finding the right balance. So that's just kind of how it starts right there. But I think that when the feedback I've received from my students and from myself, from the people I worked with, is just that one pager and just the way I approach it. It just feels organized and so put together that, it stands out a little differently. So
I like that. So when you get them on the phone, what's kind of your process? Like, how are you determining, because you've already done a little bit of the research, you already know that they're at least a good fit. Like, how are you kind of determining whether or not they are the right person? Like, what's going through your mind during that?
Yeah, part of it is like just talking about the mission of the summit, what I'm trying to accomplish, and then talking specifically about why I was reaching out to them. One of the easy indicators is that, like, there's been times that I've reached out to people on a certain topic, and that was a topic that they represented in the past, but it wasn't a topic where they were moving their business to in the future. So in that situation, I would instantly just call it out and say, I'm not serving you, I'm not helping you by having you, if you don't want to, like, if you're no longer the VA person, and I wanted to have an influencer talking about virtual assistants and how to leverage it and how to grow your business through VAs, and you're trying to shift away from being the VA person, then it doesn't make sense for me to have you speak about that because it's not serving you. So that's kind of where, like, I'm able to gauge the conversation of where it's going. Is it a good fit? And then I feel like just when you have a conversation with someone, you can quickly pick up. I mean, for my model, it's 8 to 12 spots. So with 8 to 12 spots, like, I want to do what I can to really serve the speakers, but that's where it's you want it to be a win all around. So, and if it's not a good fit, then it's just not a good fit.
And with the elevation of the speakers, getting the right speakers on there, are you requiring the speakers to promote, or is it more you're just hoping that with the elevation that they're obviously going to want to, or are you kind of setting the standard of like, look, we're getting, top minds on here that this is a great fit for, but we're looking for people to help us promote it?
So it's interesting because, like, my whole philosophy beforehand was I'm going to Dream 100 you. I'm going to, like, do an influencer strategy on you. So you're just naturally going to want to promote because it elevates your status. Like, I'm doing things that, and it worked with High Ticket Online, all but one person organically promoted multiple times. And the one person, like, still, like, provided a lot of support and was still visible on the other posts. So that's where it's like, in the past, I've not been very aggressive to say, by being part of this, you have to do X, Y, and Z. But I listened to one of your earlier episodes, and I've talked to a lot of people about this. I kind of feel like at the end of the day, part of the game of elevating status is that everyone needs to have some skin in the game. So my mindset is kind of rewiring a little bit around it. At first, I had gotten feedback from people that they were forced to promote, and that just didn't seem natural for them. So then I was like, let me just take that pressure off the table. But now I think there's a way to approach the conversation. And I'm actually, like, I'd actually like to talk with you more about this to test out, like, what's the best way that they would say this is a no-brainer. Of course, I'm going to send 3 emails out and promote on social media. So
with the Ever Summit feature inside the Virtual Summit software, you can rerun your summit as if it were live, ongoing forever with one click of a button. This now lets you continue to use your summit forever, bringing in qualified and engaged leads every month into your business. Get more information at virtualsummit.com.
Well, I think you're already, in my opinion, you're already crushing it. You're putting it together, this type of an experience. Like you said, who wouldn't want to promote? It's already happening naturally. But, like, for me, a collaborative marketing strategy involves all of us collaborating. So I love this. I love hearing this kind of feedback back and forth. Yeah. Now, as we kind of start to wrap up the episode, I do want to ask a little bit about your timeline, because you have mentioned, which I fully agree with, that people need to understand that putting together a summit is not something you just throw together, especially if you're taking the amazing steps you are. So kind of walk us through your timeline. How much time do you give yourself, and maybe what's a little bit of your process from a timeline standpoint?
So even honestly, the timeline doesn't vary when you have 8 to 12 speakers versus traditional 25 plus speakers for your summit. The benefit is you can act there's a lot less pressure on you. But my thing is, right now, I'm even tempted to start it 4 months in advance, which is even longer than what people typically recommend. The only reason I would say start it a little bit in advance is I would love to have the interviews done in a way that these boxes, if I'm doing this, are things that I could show off when I open registration. So it's not because I need another 30 days, but it's just making sure that the timeline exists in there. Because the boxes, when I've been sending them out, I usually have mock-ups to show, but they usually don't go out till about 2 weeks after the event. So in order to get those out earlier, it's just moving the timeline up a little bit earlier. But once you the cool thing about this model with 8 to 12 influencers is a lot of people who do summits, and you should probably have seen this, do like one a year because it's such a big undertaking. With this model, you can do one every other month really easily. But if it's your first time, give yourself the benefit of time. I probably can knock one of these out in 2 to 3 months really easily. And I mean, once you get the systems down and know how to put these on autopilot, like I'm in a client launch this week and it is the lowest stress experience because everything's on autopilot. Launch week always seems to be low stress. The week before, like mad chaos because you're like getting everyone ready. But the actual delivery of these to me is like, I'm going to go out to dinner.
And it's fun. I mean, the feedback, I could only imagine seeing all the unveiling videos that you have coming in from the boxes and the physical aspect, again, thinking outside of the box, being creative, or in your scenario, in the box because you have one. So I love that. Anyways, Mark, this has been absolutely amazing and incredible. I've gotten an entire page of notes already written down
Awesome.
here. I've got to go back and even re-listen to it again. Now, as we kind of bring this to a close, first off, where's the best way for people to reach out to you? Because I know people are going to be like, I need to talk with Mark. I need to find out about these boxes. What's the high ticket online? I need to get access to this. How can they reach out to you and where can they find you hanging out at?
Yeah, I'd say you can feel free to reach out to me on Facebook. You can ping me directly. I also have my own group. It's Clickpreneur, CLICKpreneur. That's my official group that I have people in. And then beyond that, if you want to check out High Ticket Online, it's just highticket.online. And if you want to get deeper into the virtual events realm, because I tend to call it virtual events, just to distinguish it slightly different than a virtual summit. We have an entire launch. We're about to release a brand new product that is a do-it-yourself. It's going to be a blast. It's all gamified later this month. So reach out to me and I'm happy to get you more information on that.
That is so awesome. You can find all of this information we've talked about, links to everything Mark's done over at the show notes at podcast.virtualsummits.com/050. You're episode 50. How cool is that? Like that's
Really?
Like
Wow.
it's a milestone right here. We should have been doing this with a beverage in our hands. So yeah, Red Bull right there. So everybody listening, make sure you head over to those show notes, get access to this. You can go, you click right over to where Mark's hanging out, get access to the Clickpreneur Facebook group as well. And Mark, why don't you kind of leave the summit hosts with like one final piece of wisdom? What's one thing you want to leave them with that they need to know?
This is for anyone, if you're brand new to this game, and Mark, I know you can attest to this, I have the most fun implementing this model. And what's amazing about it is like when you start to engage these influencers, like I just feed off their energy. So being prepared and being clear up front and investing the time and not just jumping in and asking speakers, will you speak on this summit that is coming? Like it'll make the process, it'll get you the clarity you need that the rest of the experience is just fun. So that's why I'm like, it should be at every business type. There's no one in this world who should not be considering this. Like everyone needs to be considering this model because it's the easiest way to generate content and build relationships. It's one of the few platforms that you can do that. Generate content, build authority, build relationships, have a product. Like very few things offer you the bundle that a virtual summit does. Yeah. Do one.
Right there, you heard it from Mark Stern. Do one. Do a virtual event. Do a virtual summit. And thank you so much, Mark, for taking the time out of your schedule to drop this amazing summit gem, summit information. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Mark.
Absolutely. And thank you, Summit hosts, for listening in to us here on the Virtual Summit Podcast. We'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks for listening. Now don't forget to subscribe and leave a 5-star review on the Virtual Summit Podcast. Head over to the show notes to check out all the links and resources from this episode, and be sure to grab your free trial of the Virtual Summit software.
Now, I want to end this episode by saying to all the Summit hosts listening right now, I believe in you, and you can do this. Summits are by far one of the most powerful ways to quickly grow your list, launch your platform, make more money, and most importantly, make an impact in the world, even if you're just getting started. So don't get caught up in analysis paralysis because the world needs to hear your message, and there are people who are waiting for you to help them. So just get started, because imperfect action is always better than no action. Thank you, and see you on the next episode.